You don't really hate the work, you just hate that you didn't price it properly. My goal is to be the most expensive bid.
Did that lead you to start adding a zero to every new project that came?
We came up with many creative ways to insert more money into the bid.
A talented creative is about to quit. What would you say to them? Okay, tell me about the day you realized that you'd been charging too little, right? Walk me through the process when you understood your value.
I don't know if I've thought that I've charged too little. I've always questioned how much more can I charge.
Even when you were first getting started?
Yeah.
Really? What were you charging then?
$30 an hour.
Okay.
Yeah. And the reason why I was charging that was because the flyer said, we'll pay you $30 an hour. And I remember I was in school. I wanted to make a little bit of money. And they have job postings on a bulletin board somewhere. You go and you pull the tab off. And it was from an Art Center alum. And I called and I sent him some work and he goes, cool, you can get started. And I was designing bank brochures, a trifold bank brochure. And I just sent in the hours. I'm like, this is terrible. First of all, I don't think I went to school to design bank brochures. I could have done that without going to school. And I think my life is meant to be more than this. And so I would just go wherever and somebody's like, what's your rate? I would just say a number, like, okay. So then I'm like, okay, let me try again. I'll just keep saying it until they say no. And it took a long time before they would say no. Sometimes they'd be a little bit irritated that you would say a number because like, didn't you just graduate school? I'm like, you have a problem with that? Like, no. Okay. So we would just move on. I'll share a story. I love to tell this story. I think I'm a year out of school. Yeah, probably not more than a year. I'm freelancing. And when I say freelancing, I'm kind of like this hybrid freelancer because I don't work in somebody's office. I send them an invoice and things like that. And it was at this point in which I was testing the theory about how much money can I charge? Because it's just a game for me. Money's a construct. It's an imaginary thing that we all have social agreement on that is real, but it's not. And I was raising my rates every project with the same company, by the way. So at first it was like $300 a day. And I'm like, that doesn't feel right. Let's try 400, 450, 500, 600. And they just kept paying. So one day I tell them, yeah, you guys want to book me. I just need to let you know it's $800 a day. And at this point, the executive producer had enough with me. And she said, Chris, every time you just keep changing your rate. I'm like, I know. And she goes, this is too much. And it's annoying. I'm like, okay. Why don't you have a conversation with the creative director? I won't say his name. And if he has a problem with it, have him call me. He never called me. They just paid.
So you were charging too little to start, or you had.
I didn't look at it like that.
You didn't look at it like that, but you had the opportunity to charge a lot more, and you just kept raising the price until. And then when they had a problem with it, or when they said they had a problem, right? Did you raise it again after that, or did you keep it at 800?
Oh, they stopped working with me after a certain point in time.
But did you keep it going?
Of course, I've never stopped.
Really?
Yeah. Well, people don't know this, but to book an hour with me, it's $5,000. And they're like, an hour? I'm like, an hour. They're like, what do you do? Whatever I do. What outcomes do you promise? None. I promise you'll be on a call with me for an hour. And people book me.
So it comes down to obviously valuing your time, because our time is infinite, but it comes down to keep raising the bar until someone maybe objects, which is probably hard for a lot of freelancers or creatives that are just getting started, because a lot of them don't like talking about money. They don't like asking for more money, I assume.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, when you say, when did you first realize that you've charged too little? It was not about a first time. Every time I start to feel pain from the clients being a dork, I'm like, I didn't charge them enough. Because I want to love my client. And I always ask people this question a lot. They're like, I hate doing this work. I'm like, okay. What if you got paid double? Would you still hate it? They're like, I would still hate it. I'm like, what if they paid you 10 times as much? I'd love it. So you don't really hate the work. You just hate that you didn't price it properly. And so every time I have this feeling like that pain, it's like, oh, I just need to charge them more. So lesson learned. But we don't know that. So I don't go into it assuming that I've charged too little. I just ask for what I ask for. They agree, cool. I do the work. I measure the level of pain that I'm feeling. And what people might be thinking, what kind of pain? Pain in the ass. Client saying it should be red, and I don't like that typeface. I'm like, well, I'm firing you. I don't have time for this right now.
The headache is the client being
The
paid.
client, yeah.
They're a headache. I don't have to deal with this.
So the test is this, and I borrow this from Blair Enns, even though he forgets this story. He goes, how much do you love your client? If it's Friday night at 6 p.m. and they call you, and you have caller ID, you're like, does it fill you with dread, or are you joyous to pick up the phone? If you're joyous, it means you've charged enough. And you are filled with dread, it's because you've not charged enough. And my goal in life is anybody that ever hires me, I don't care when, I don't care why, you call me, I'll be happy. And the only way I can guarantee that is if I just charge you so much money, I'm like, it would be my pleasure to help you because of your patronage, I can afford the life and the lifestyle that I have. So I genuinely appreciate you.
And there's a negotiation clip, speaking of pricing yourself, that I think it went crazy viral on Shorts when Shorts were just getting started.
Yes.
When you look back at it now, revenue share or fixed price, what's actually better for freelancers?
Both can work. I'll give you a story. Where am I here? I'm in Australia. I'm doing a pricing workshop. One of the partners comes up to me. He's like, Chris, I need to learn value-based pricing. Oh, cool. I said, well, before we do that, let me ask you a couple of questions. This is a walk and talk. We're literally in the street walking from the venue to the restaurant. And in that short walk, I was able to figure it out for him. So here's the series of questions I asked him. What is the lowest you've ever been paid? They do web design, and they're like 10 grand. And what's the most you've ever been paid? He's like, most, like 800,000. But what is the average high and the average low? Let's look at that. Let's say they said 30 grand and 150 grand. Let's just say. I said, what price would you be really happy with if all your clients paid you this amount? He thought about it for a little bit. He's like, 100 grand. I said, why 100? Why not 150? Because most of our clients are coming in at under 50. So that's more than double already. So you don't need to learn value-based pricing. You just need to put on your website, projects start at 100 grand. So now all your projects will begin at a price point which you'd be really happy. He goes, oh. So sometimes I think creatives make it so difficult on themselves, like they got to learn this whole pricing economic theory. No, you don't. Find the price that works for you and say it. Say it with confidence and be willing to suffer the consequences, which is you're going to hear a lot of no's. And so when you hear a lot of no, it just means that there's a gap in perception and sometimes in skill between where you'd like to be and where you are. So the perception part of it is when you land on an Apple website, you're like, of course, it's the most expensive version of whatever I'm going to buy because it reads it, it looks it, and they spend a god-awful amount of money with photography, with copywriting, with proofing, and they just get it just right. So we know we're going to spend money. I go to your website, it looks like a WordPress template from 2004. How does that instill confidence in me? It doesn't. So that's the perception gap. The other part of it is the skill gap. Perhaps you just don't have the skills that the market values at that price point in which you want to charge. The good news is somebody has been there before and can lessen your suffering and accelerate time to goal. That's it.
Yeah. And so what about rev share? That can still work?
It can work, but it's for sophisticated sellers of services, not for the average person. So if this person is asking me, Chris, I'm interested in rev share, I probably would tell them you're not, because the fact that we're having this conversation means you're not.
And what about that person we just talked about who's anchoring at, let's say now 100,000? They keep getting no too many times. Like you said, that signals there's a gap. Should they then just say, okay, let's go down to 80. Let's go down to a number where I start hearing some yeses and then it makes sense for me.
Possibly, but it doesn't look good.
Right.
Because once a brand starts to discount, you start to question the viability of that brand. It's easy to raise your prices. It's really difficult to lower them. So be careful about how you do this, and you have to believe in this. Personal story, when I was starting to do brand strategy, I had committed in my mind $10,000. I wanted to be paid $10,000 a day. And the reason why I got that number stuck in my head was a friend of mine had hired David C. Baker. He's a business consultant. And I asked him how much did he charge, and he says he charged me $10,000. For how long? He said just for a day. He flew in, he consulted me for a day, and then he left, and I sent him the money. I said, were you happy? He goes, yes. Okay, cool. So I now knew that there was a benchmark that I could hit. And so I live in the world of possibility, not impossibility or improbability, of possibility. If somebody could do it, then I can do it. I don't care what their experience is or what their story is, but I'm going to get $10,000. So people would call and ask for help, and I'd say, look, before we get too far, it's going to be 10 grand. I don't care if you ask me to help you move a car or anything. If it's a logo or you need to do keynote, it's going to be 10 grand. They're like, why 10 grand? It's just 10 grand, man. And so I got no's for 1 year trying to sell brand strategy. And then one client said, yes. It took me a year to sell it. Luckily, I had other business to do, but I was just telling everyone that was new, it's going to be 10 grand. It did not back down from this. And after doing this strategy work for 10 grand, another person called, unrelated to this person. And then I said, it's 10 grand. They're like, no problem. So I said, okay, this is cool. I know what I'm doing. The next person's going to call me. It's going to be 30 grand. And it was 30 grand for a while, and then it became 100 grand. It's just a game. We played a game, and your confidence and your ability to deliver it and to be able to communicate to others, to signal to them you know what you're doing, is the reason why they'll pay you.
Guys, we've been so passionate about finding the biggest geniuses, and this is just one of the many episodes. If you want to make sure you don't miss the next one, make sure to subscribe. All right, let's get back to the episode. Was there a proposal that you sent out in your early days at Blind that makes you maybe cringe now?
Yeah, but not for the reasons that you think. When I learned how to bid and send out proposals, there was a period in time when I was between executive producers, and this gentleman came in and he was helping me out, and he put a proposal together, a bid. It's not a proposal, it's just a bid. It's for a large telecom company. And he wanted to go and socialize at 5 p.m., have drinks, meet up with some people. I'm like, cool. So he goes, you good with this? I'm like, I'm good with this. And he sends it off. And per our customary routine, I would take all the bids and bring them home to show my wife because she's our financial officer. And she's like, have you looked at this bid? I'm like, yes, but now I'm scared because my wife don't ask questions unless there's a problem. I'm like, what's the problem? She goes, this category is wrong because it's all hours at the bid, and then this one is days, but they wrote it in like it was hours. So they wrote like 80 days or something crazy in there. And I'm like, oh, shoot. So the bid was off by 0. It was a 0 higher than it should have been because that number was crazy. And she goes, what do you want to do? I'm like, oh my God. So I called the executive producer and said, bro, you messed up. He goes, oh, I'm so sorry. I wasn't paying attention to that. It's my fault. I'll call them, let them know I messed up. I'm like, do no such thing. We're just going to lose a job. I'd rather lose a job because we overbid it than to call them and tell them, oh, we don't know what we're doing with the bid. Because that's like a sign that you're not paying attention to anything. Lo and behold, we were awarded the job. We got the job with an extra 0 in it. And this started to rewire my brain. Like, we impose so many limitations on what we think we're worth in the marketplace, but the market will tell us. And I had a strategy on how to explain that there are 80 days when the job's only 3 weeks long. We have a lot of people working on it. That's how we're going to solve that problem.
How big was that project? Do you remember?
It was so profitable. I don't remember the price, but with the fact that they awarded it and we did it, it was like 90% profit, like pure profit. It was amazing.
And did that lead you to start adding a 0 to every new project that came through?
Oh, we came up with many creative ways to insert more money into the bid. We came up with this thing called the creative fee. So when we're doing a 5-page modified AICP bid form for commercial work, we couldn't get the numbers high enough because they want to see line by line breakdown. And so we were like, well, what can we do? I'm like, add a creative fee. Like, they will never buy that. I'm like, just do it. So we would arbitrarily just put in a number. So if the bid was $130,000, I might say add a $28,000 creative fee. Now, what if they ask? Just tell them that's how we work. And you know what? They almost never ask. They just look at the bottom line. Is it a number that they want to pay for or not? And so I use this word. It's a $6 word. Our job when we're bidding on a project like this, when they want to see the numbers, is to obfuscate how we get there, to make it difficult for them to figure out so they can compare us to other people. This is important. So if 3 companies, and oftentimes it's more than 3 companies, are bidding for a project, if we're all using the same bid form, which is more or less the same, they can then compare like, oh, they're high here, they're low there. And so I want to make it impossible for them to compare us to the next person. Either work with us or don't, but don't put your cost controllers on this and try to take this down. We find creative ways.
And I mean, this goes from, I assume, most businesses, not just creatives, right? Do you think most businesses are just charging too little?
No, because most businesses are undifferentiated. Picking up where we started, they're undifferentiated and they live in a space of like commodity. So if they get out of that space where they make it a little extra and special, then they can start to charge whatever they want to charge. And you can look at luxury goods as the ultimate example of basically a commodity that's got a really good story. And so people are willing to pay a premium.
How much of winning a deal is the proposal itself versus what already happened before it?
Define what happens before.
The sales call, building the brand up to even be able to get on that sales call, everything that happened before it versus maybe the proposal itself.
Okay. The proposal is nothing. The proposal is almost meaningless. It's a business document. I can't attribute percentages any kind of scientific way, but I think in a competitive bid where they have many options to do the work, especially when the work is in the hundreds of thousands, you open yourself up to international talent and competition basically at that point. They may have decided beforehand they're going to give it to company A because they just really like the work of company A, but their clients mandate they must triple bid this thing. Okay, so you already are potentially the shoe-in, but it's not a guarantee, it's not a lock. Because the other two companies are hungry and they're going to go after it, and so you have to show up too. If you take it for granted, you might lose a client. Everything is dependent on the call. And there's two calls that you have, the initial briefing call and then the what are your ideas call. Now, I'm talking about in the commercial space here, okay, because there's a lot of different examples of this. So we have initial call, and the way we used to do a call was it would be very short. They would walk you through the brief. Basically, they'd read the script to you and say, do you have any questions? And you would ask questions, and then you would go away and create your ideas. So before I got coaching on how to do this, that was a very tense call. They would say things and then you think, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to ask them about right now? And it wouldn't be that long. They got things to do. Once I learned how to do these new business calls, we would tell them, our calls take a long time. If now's not a good time, let's reschedule, because my EP at that time would explain, Chris and team are going to ask you lots of questions. And so they would go through the brief and I would just ask them question after question after question. And I could tell it was mentally exhausting for them. And then I know I've done my job because they said, you asked really great questions. You got us thinking about things we never thought about. No one's asked us before. But what we did together on that call was we designed the solution together over the phone. We got into their brain. We surfaced their desires, their fears, their hopes, their dreams, what they tried before, what won't work, and what they would love to try in an ideal world. And we were kind of narrowing it down in the conversation. We demonstrate our expertise by the questions that we ask. So Dr. DeMartini would say the quality of your life depends on the quality of the questions you ask. So new business calls is the art of learning how to ask great questions. So the second call would be